You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Podcast Network. Find all of our shows at wearelibertarians.com. You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Welcome, everybody, to the Boss Hog Liberty Podcast. This is episode number 262 of Essential and his favorite podcast. Jeremiah Morell, joined by co-hosts. We got Zach Burcham. We've got. Do you want a co-host title today?
Co-host title, yeah.
Yeah, USAC Silver Crown racer, sprint car racer, Kyle Robbins. This is at least your fifth time in the building.
I think so, yeah.
You've earned co-host billing.
Okay.
And producer Sara Morrell tonight.
Yeah.
Zach, what do we got?
We've got Marshall Pruett in the house. So for anybody that's race fans, we know we've been efforting. Jeremiah's been efforting this for a while. We're going to talk some racing. There's lots of racing to talk. We're going to get an update on Kyle's racing because Kyle's been out there at the grassroots level doing his thing. He's got his Penske Racing Shocks. Ironic shirt to wear this week.
Very ironic choice.
Yeah.
I'm just here to talk about Pokemon, so I might have missed the whole scheduling window a little bit.
Did you find any good Pokemon Go things out here, Marshall?
I'm looking.
Get a Snorlax? Or
I only bumped my head on a couple of street signs looking for them, but I'll be fine.
But yeah, Marshall's a very prolific podcaster. He has many, many episodes of many, many different types of content. You want to listen to some good race car content. Just listen to race cars. He's got that covered too.
A little nerding out there.
He will, if you'll let him do it, Kyle. Marshall will just put a recorder in your sprint car.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
and then just pull audio and then just release it for people to listen to.
That's perfect. It's like, what is that, AMSR or whatever, you know?
Yeah, I'm not exactly trying to get you off from it with it, but
Hey, car sound noise. I was actually looking at race car sounds because they were testing, and it wasn't the race car, but they're testing the C7 Z06 at the Nürburgring, and it's a flat plane crank. And I was like, oh, that sounds really good. I was like, C7R though. C7R. I was at Road America the one time I was up there for an IMSA race, and you hear all the Porsches and everything, and then all of a sudden they'd fire one of those up, and you're like, oh, the ground's shaking. What's that? Oh, it's the Corvette.
God's
and,
jackhammer.
And it was like, it's such an angry car. So yeah, car audio. We need more good high quality recordings of race cars.
This show is about our lives in rural Indiana. We're here to push your boundaries and make you think as individuals. Sometimes we'll provoke you, other times we'll make you laugh, but hopefully you'll always learn something new. We just did a fun 15, 20 minutes of Patreon with Marshall and Kyle. We did some beer tasting because that's a thing that we do around here. We like to try spicy foods, hot foods, random stuff, and just torture ourselves. And this time we just made Zach smell alcohol. So
I didn't actually have to. You didn't make me smell it this time.
It's true.
I'm good.
I'm on my best behavior.
I'm
tonight.
improving.
If you want to join that, you're welcome to at any level. That helps us pay the bills and keeps this place going forward. BossHogLiberty.com. You can click on the Patreon button and sign up. Folks that give $50 or more a month to the show, they get a shout out at the beginning of every episode. That includes Christy Avery, Anthony Meyer, and Jonathan Phillips. Still keeping John in our prayers. His daughter Morgan had her car accident a week ago, and as I understand it, Morgan's been transferred up to University of Michigan, she's going to be seeing some specialists up there. So praying for Morgan, 12 years old, known her since the very beginning. Tough girl, and she's gonna fight through and be all right. So with that, we thank all of you guys for joining us today. Gonna jump right into it. Kyle, you've got a big racing weekend too, right? Mm-hmm. So we've got everything from the entire motorsports world, except for maybe drag racing, seems to be in Indianapolis this weekend. Mm-hmm. IndyCar, NASCAR, the trucks, the Xfinity cars, the Cup cars, and then you're running 2 races this weekend?
So no, we're just running Saturday at Anderson, and then Monday they're running out of IRP.
We'll count Mondays.
And then USAC has sprint week going on too, so it's going on, started back. Well, they got rained out last night, and then they run tonight through Saturday.
So you're at IRP Monday?
Yeah, it's a makeup from beginning of the year.
Okay. In the Silver Crown car?
Sprint car.
Sprint car.
Yeah, sprint car all weekend.
Okay.
Or kind of weekend, I guess.
How's the season gone?
Silver Crowns had a little rough start. The first race we were really happy with how it was going. We qualified fourth and we were running top 10, right around the top 5 the whole race. And then, part failure in the motor just happened with like 2 to go out of anybody's control. It just happened. So, IRP crashed the pavement car, and then, PA didn't go so hot for the dirt cars. So, really first good race has been Winchester last week. We had a really solid qualifying run, and, the race was, I wish I could have had a little bit better pace at the beginning, but, we were pretty happy with the finish.
You're 12th place right now in the Silver Crown points.
Yeah, points are, we're just going at finishes for now. So
not looking at top 10.
No, it may happen, but
I've heard if you get top 10, you get a chance at the number 10 IndyCar next year.
Oh yeah,
they're looking at everybody.
Like everybody knows that.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah,
there's a possibility.
Yeah, but no, Winchester went real good. I was glad to have a good run there. That place has been some place that I grew up going to a lot of races at, and close to home here. We're only like 25 minutes away, and it's I don't know, that's one of those places that, you feel the history and the mystique behind it when you walk into that place. Just, it's someplace you don't mess around when you walk through the gates.
The intensity just has to go up.
Yeah.
35, 37 degrees of banking and real concrete walls.
Yeah. And when you wake up that morning, it's a little different, it's not just a normal racetrack you're going to. You're going someplace where, if stuff goes bad, somebody could get hurt, and, you're also got to be racing with a lot of respect there, and a lot of the guys we race with, we all trust each other, and it was a very good show.
So you guys are going to run at Gateway when IndyCar is there as well?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How does that race weekend feel to the others, compared to the others?
I don't know. I've only we did one Silver Crown race with IndyCar, which actually was my first Crown race at Phoenix. And, it was pretty normal. We were all kind of spread out, so we weren't really pitted next to the IndyCar stuff. So it was kind of like our own deal. Besides, we were just sharing the track in the weekend. But, hopefully get a good crowd. It sounds like that's been one of the better places for crowds down there. And obviously they had a good turnout for the Cup stuff down there. So hopefully that continues to grow.
Marshall's a racer. Think he can get some laps in the Silver Crown car at Gateway?
Yeah, if we can fit him in there, man.
You got the jaws of life. We could spread that sucker open a little bit.
We got a porter power, so we'll figure something out.
Look like elephant on a tricycle. Let's not be too silly here.
Man, if Marshall gets in, I'm getting in. That's the way I'm looking at it.
I did race, I then swole up, and so I need to get back into unswole. I'm trying. I've lost about 50 pounds so far, but it's the proverbial drop in a bucket.
I feel you. All right, so Marshall, let's talk for the high level here. You are currently in a role where you're reporting.
Yes.
Right. You're reporting on on all of the happenings and all of the soap operas in the IndyCar world at this point. That's your responsibility this week. But you didn't start as a journalist. You've come along a different way.
Correct. Never had any formal training. I did go back to college in my early 30s when I met who became my wife. She had already had 1 or 2 bachelor degrees and was pursuing her master's, and said, "Hi, I like you. Could you be less dumb?" And so going to University of San Francisco with her.
So college was an assignment from Morell?
Oh, yes. Yes. I need to do more than grunt. Yes.
That is spectacular.
So went to college. I went to pursue computer information science as my degree, a bachelor's in that. I came within, I think, 1 or 2 semesters of that. And I don't have a quality answer as to why I didn't finish that. But while there, the thing that I actually enjoyed most were the English classes. And so I found a love for writing that had never existed beforehand. And so with all that said, took me some word learning classes, but just felt, boy, I sure love this thing in racing. I need to stop doing it full time like I've been doing since I was about 16 years old. Worked as a mechanic, worked up as you know, Kyle, you do this long enough, you work your way up. Mm-hmm. And so go for junior mechanic, kind of crew chief-ish, data engineer, race engineer, team manager. So kind of worked up that ladder, all for the most part in open wheel. I did have some IMSA GTP stuff in 1990, which was really cool. And I did a lot of other random stuff working with Spirit of America Land Speed Record Team, Craig Breedlove, like just American royalty. A lot of really cool little things here and there, but for the most part, it was starting out with little tiny open wheel cars all the way up to IndyCar.
And mostly in the Bay Area.
Yeah, I never left the Bay Area. Never moved away from the San Francisco Bay Area. Would go out and, be on the road with the team, stay with the team and or live in the Midwest or, Lansing, Michigan, wherever it might be, Indianapolis, an apartment or this or that or the other, but never actually moved on, never wanted to because I'd seen too many of my friends do that. And all I would hear from growing up in the Bay Area is a pretty amazing thing. You're within 2 to 3 hours of every possible climate for the most part. You've got the Pacific Ocean that way. If you go north, it's nothing but redwoods and green and just beautiful, you name it. You go southeast a little bit, you've got sand dunes. And if you go completely east, talking wintertime, you've got snow and skiing. I mean, truly, like you've got everything you would want. And I'd listen to all my friends who'd go to work for IndyCar Team A, B, or C and move themselves out there. And it would always be some sort of 2 or 3 months later. Hey, do you have any interest in buying, my mountain bike? I'm like, why is that? It's a lot of flat out here. And all these things were like, oh, okay. The things that they loved living in the Bay Area, I would just hear from them like, look, there's beautiful other things that I found that we don't have, but the things that I've accustomed to sustaining me and making me happy, I'm missing that. So I just made a mental note of like, I'll go out and, hey, Brownsburg, Indiana, rock on. Just not letting go of home. So, but yeah, did that forever. Was an avid reader the whole time of all kinds of things, but fell in love with certain reporters and just their words and style. And so I didn't know while doing this, being in the sport, that I was kind of having this recording going on in the back of my head of things that might come back to be of value later. So I ended up, quote, retiring at the end of the 2001 IRL season. My last season was working. It was the first season actually of Sam Schmidt Motorsports, and retired at the end of that. Decided to try and lead a normal life. I was 31 and was just like, kind of been doing this for half my life. And it's awesome, but I can't have it. Like the thing that always stuck with me was I can't have a dog. Because if I'm going on the road for a week or 2 or 3, or like just simple little things like you can ask your neighbor to help out for a couple of days, but at some point they're like, look, idiot, you're abandoned. And so
I've got your dog 40 weeks a year, sir.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so it's just those kind of things where you go, well, you know what? Maybe I just need to try a normal life, and did, and found a job working in biotech of all things in the drug purification department, wearing, full white bunny suits, not Walter White bunny suits, but just like full Breaking Bad bunny suits in the clean rooms, doing this and and like my mechanical experience helped with having to put together all these assemblies and whatnot. But it was just a weird thing where I could not find something where my experience in racing translated to something in the real world that wasn't wrenching on a car, doing, something that wasn't automotive. So I did that for a couple of years, met my wife, et cetera, and kind of got back to a place where I do want to be involved in racing. And I was doing like local driver coaching on the weekends and doing some engineering here and there. And it's just started creeping back in, but more on the local level. Then I started doing flyaway stuff, running SCCA World Challenge teams. Hey, let's go engineer Dodge Viper for the weekend at motorsport in Canada and whatever, just like cool. But you start to see that your life gets tipped out of balance because, hey, I retired and I stopped doing this. And you're like, yeah, but like 35 weekends a year, dude, you're on the road playing with race cars. And so while going to school, while getting some of this word education, I was doing enough things where my wife just said, if you wanted to try this, I'll buckle in for that. She wasn't working. And I wasn't exactly making a fortune doing whatever stupid stuff I was doing. So it was a full and amazing commitment from her.
And there's no real roadmap, right?
No.
There's not a, hey, this is how you get to where you want to be.
Not at all. And so it was just that. It was her, well, we were living like deep in the hood in Oakland, and I've lived in many hoods and I'm good. And so that wasn't a bad thing. It was just a reflection of we had no money. She wasn't working. We were newly-ish married. I'm making whatever that I was. And we knew that by doing this, it would actually get turned down way the hell more. But when she said, like, go ahead and do this.
Go try.
Like, that was the thing. Like, okay, I have no questions that I am the luckiest person in the world. Like, legitimately, if she was as smart as her master's and 2 bachelors suggest, she would have said, hell no, moron. But anyway, so full thanks to her. And here I am, having tried to just figure this stuff out, like legitimately on the fly.
That's incredible. We come from so many content creators here, right? In the podcasting world, and to see what you've been able to accomplish without a roadmap is just, you just fake it till you make it, and you get there, and you just continue to knock down doors and keep trying and move forward and figure it out.
There's one thing about racing that has been such a help. And again, Kyle will absolutely attest to this. Of the many virtues needed to succeed in racing, one is constant adaptation. Whether you are a driver and lap to lap, whether it's the cushion moving, whether it's fuel burning off, tire pressure, again, what strategy wise, you're having to make reads and calls instantaneously. This is not something where you've got a half hour to think, where should I turn in? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's all instantaneous. I'm not saying I'm possessed of like amazing skills, but if you're in racing and you've been able to carve out any kind of career, constant adaptation and figuring stuff out quickly, it's a necessity. Mechanic, engineer, spotter, it's just part of the culture. So truly, I'm so thankful that because of this background, while I have not understood a lot of things going into it, how do I edit a video? I don't know. I've never edited a video, but I see I can click on things. And when I click on it, these menus come down, and it's just that thing where you go, I'll figure it out. And you don't. There's so many things about Adobe Photoshop that I wish I knew. I don't, but I've figured out all the things I need to know. So I'm not brilliant. And you see the stuff other folks post and you're like, oh my God, I need to bow down to you. I'm not that guy. I'm the, what do I need to succeed at the task in front of me?
But to get it created and to move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I honestly, my greatest deficiency, we talked about it, but when we were switching over, is the video side of this, of creating this podcast and taking it to that level. And it's just the video editing that you guys do, and I consume 95% of what you put out on YouTube and through the racer arm, blows me away. Just simply to take audio and match it with video and to make it work and edit it. It's voodoo. I have no idea.
The worst part.
I have no idea how that actually works. All right. So, and then you launched a podcast that we have 5 million views, downloads or so, or well beyond at this point.
We're at getting close to 9.
9. My God.
But again,
it's incredible.
That's one day of a Joe Rogan or Mark Maron. So again, I'm always like, hey, that's great in my little world.
Right.
In my little world,
everybody narrowcasts.
In the real world, Dale Jr. does that in the first 7 minutes of a Dirty Mo production or whatever. So again, I'm like, hey, if I could do good in my little fiefdom of not NASCAR, not Formula One, I feel happy.
That's what it's about. Mm-hmm. It's not about the numbers.
Well, and before we move on to the news of the day, I will say that you've done a phenomenal job of building a community there as well, that Sara and I and Zach are all happy to be a part of, with the creation of the Pruett Day.
That's a sweet thing to say. I didn't create that. Like, y'all created that.
There was some gentle encouragement to say, hey, find each other.
Okay.
And then it's taken off.
All right. Fair enough.
Into whatever the heck it's turned into.
Into
a family with its own personality.
You do meetups and stuff. And so that's when the people got to meet each other. Cause there's a lot of times like there are people, I go to Indy for about any time the IndyCar's there. And I think I got there like 9 days over the month of May or something. And there are people, I don't know who they are, but I know who they are because I see them every time you go. Cause the IndyCar community, even the fan community amongst the diehards is like pretty compact at times. Like you go to anything, you go to like one of the garage sales the team has. You're like, I know you, I know you, I know you, I know all these faces, I know all these people. And like, cause some of the same people are at every single thing. Like, and so, yeah, if you get those people together and then they can talk, sometimes we'll talk like in the line for something like, oh, I've seen you around. Like there's a guy who always joke around like he had a Scott Dixon jersey, and he got it when it was still Target Chip Ganassi Racing, and as every sponsor fell off, he would just keep duct taping the sponsors off of it.
That's amazing.
And so it got to the point where the only thing left on it was like Dixon. And I think that was like
and now it says Ixon. Yeah,
he got a new jersey. He finally got a new one. But I would see him. I'm like, that's all I remember him from is this jersey. He just kept duct taping sponsors off as they left the team. But you're like, I see him. I'll see him this weekend. I guarantee I'll see that kid this weekend. I don't know if he knows who I am, but I just see him every weekend. So
I always have that thought too. As you're walking around the garage area, you wonder if the teams are like, yeah, that guy's here all the time. Like, you just wonder if if they, of course, they have a job to do too. But you look at it and just go, man, does this person recognize you?
I'm wondering if the kid from Ganassi recognizes you. I forget his name, but we met him at
George. Was it George?
No, it's not George. We met him at Sun King. Whenever we went to the live off track / Speed Street podcast.
Yeah.
What was his name?
I scared the hell out of him. I don't know. I stopped him.
He approached him and he was just kind of there. And it's like, oh, it's an extrovert on an introvert. This is hilarious.
Oh, yeah. He wanted to run away and hide. And then, of course, I have I'm 10-second Tom sometimes. So if somebody gives me a name, it'll come in one ear and fall out the other one. And I got to ask him.
I think it was Raja. Is that his name?
Yeah, Roger. But yes, Raja.
I thought he said it, but never mind.
Well, you're correct, but okay. I take however you're supposed to say Romain Grosjean and then
Romain Grosjean.
Romain Grosjeans. Yeah, okay. We Americanize it.
Mr. Ranjow.
Yes. I will attest to that though. I've probably seen the same people at the racetrack for like 10 years, and bad enough, I don't know their name, but I have 10-15-minute conversations with them every time I see them. So
Buddy and Pal.
Yeah.
There's a lot of folks named Buddy.
There's a guy named, I think, Matt Gronholtz, and he went by IndyCar Stig, and he hilariously one year, he wore a white Alpine Stars driving suit with nothing on it and a white helmet, and he threw his bronze badge on it, and he walked around all qualifications weekend in the paddock.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I was like, dude, you are a legend, because all the drivers wanted their pictures with him, because the theory was that he's just going to take your job. If you don't qualify the car, he's going to take your job. And he's a legit go-kart. He's a bit of a go-kart stud. Like you go to like one of the indoor tracks and he can hold it with any of the IndyCar guys that show up at go-kart tracks. And he comes out to Newcastle. He gave up on doing the Stig thing, but he literally walked around. He wouldn't talk to anybody. Smoked out visor. It was the most hilarious thing ever. Just That's awesome. Whole weekend of just walking around.
So is he going to be in the number 10 car next year?
He might be. Or he might get an F1 development deal from Zach. You never know.
So speaking of great walking around Indianapolis Motor Speedway in a fire suit and helmet, a friend of mine, she worked for Bell. She was their main rep, working with Bill Simpson. Linda Conti is her name. You may know her. She was the
IndyCar owner.
Yep. Yep. She and Dave Conti was the spotter last year for Simona with the Preda Autosport program. So her nickname was Marge. That's what Bill Simpson nicknamed her. And she being one of the, if not the main Simpson rep in the late 80s, early 90s, there were rumors about Senna. This is when he was having the big contract dispute with Ron Dennis about whether he was going to continue with the team next year. So she famously, I don't know if it was done up in a Simpson suit or whatever it was, but she had the full Senna display Marlboro F1 suit and his iconic helmet, put that on, walked out of the Simpson suite in Gasoline Alley and started walking around, right? And she's not short. She's not like super narrow. So you could just, if someone wanted to, they could, folks would trick themselves into thinking that could be Senna.
Because almost nobody in Indianapolis has met Senna and can tell you, oh, that's too tall, that's too short. They're just like,
but the same thing, smoked, so no one could see,
brilliant.
And just blew things up. And she got in big trouble from Bill afterwards, whatever. But her story about this was amazing, because truly there was this, oh my God, Ayrton Senna is walking around, is he here to draw? Anyways, I love
because there's a rumor, I can't remember if he did or not, he was supposed to have tested a car.
Yeah, he did.
At Firestone?
Yep. At Firebird, in December.
So but they said that was probably just like posturing for contract. But yeah, but to actually do the whole suit, that's that's committed.
She's a baller.
All right, let's talk about some IndyCar news at the moment.
What?
Just briefly, I've got my very, very exclusive NTT Ganassi Racing Alex Palou Kimoa hat that has a very short shelf life, apparently. One of my more poor investments, I would say. That and some of the cannabis stock that I've purchased. These are both going in the wrong direction.
What about that bet last weekend?
My
Sunday.
Thanks for reminding me of that. I put $25 on Joseph Newgarden to win, and I felt damn good.
Oh, you must have been insufferable up to like lap 267.
I was winning everything. I had fantasy IndyCar nailed. I had the podium perfect. I was going to make $100 off this race. And then that Penske shock package fell apart, Kyle. And
Kyle.
It was not good.
Wasn't my stuff.
It was not good.
It wasn't that company's stuff either, actually.
Yeah.
So, what is my hat worthless? There's a lawsuit that was filed this week, and the good lawyers on the Ganassi side.
No joke, I'd buy one of those. See if I could pick the Kimoa off and sport that. Yeah, it'd be really conflicted.
Did you see my truck outside?
No.
The Tahoe's out there, and it has the Go Alex on it and the number 10 IndyCar. So we have for Sarah, for her birthday, I got the Golix, the Go Alex IndyCar plate. So that is on the Tahoe out there.
Can I give you a little Alex information I heard? I haven't vetted it yet, so this is just strict rumor.
All right.
I need to ask tomorrow. I've heard that next season, Alex Rossi will be engineered by Felix Rosenquist's current engineer, Craig Hampson.
There we go. That's going to be a fast car.
That would be brutal.
So what I've been thinking is that it says Go Alex. And if Alex Palou is no longer in the picture, I have to peel off my number 10 sticker, and I may just have to put a McLaren sticker on the Tahoe, and then it's on brand because it's a Chevy as well. Right now, we're kind of crossing that Chevy Honda line.
Or is that now, could that become, once we get the lawsuit determination, a statement of fact from Chip Ganassi Racing?
Goodbye.
Go, Alex.
It's over.
We don't know.
I've never seen anything like this before in my life.
Never, ever.
The only parallel I can have is many years ago, Davey Allison was a NASCAR Cup driver, and he was in the most coveted car, the 28 car, Robert Yates Racing, winning lots of races, championship form, and he lost his life. And Robert Yates wanted Ernie Irvan to drive the car, and Ernie wanted to get out of his contract that he was in, and he told this team owner, "You can't afford to keep me in your car." And the team owner said that the weekend that he did that, he blew 3 engines and crashed the car twice, to the point of we cannot afford to keep him in the race car. That hasn't been the strategy with Alex Palou, but it's been, I've never seen something turn so hostile so quickly.
Yeah, this has been brewing for a while. There's a lot of strategery involved. The timing of the press release from McLaren, 3.5-ish hours after Ganassi's press release, not a coincidence. I wrote about that, mentioning timing-wise, if this is major news and a big team acquiring the reigning IndyCar champion would fall in that category. You're going to get that news while the sun is up. It's going to come on the hour, at worst half hour. But knowing that this was coming out of the UK, right? The press release announcing McLaren signing of Palou came out of the UK. So they're many hours ahead of us.
It came out like at midnight over there. I mean,
12:18 a.m. or something like that.
Yeah.
So again, the way pretty much all of these things work, and I'm overstating the obvious, is these are all automated. Hi, you have set this up for this email to go out at this time. Right. Boom. So there's no one actually sitting there hitting.
Perfect example today. Hunkos Racing announced they were extending the contract.
Yeah.
Mutually extending the contract of Kalamilot.
Yeah.
And it was a 2:00 announcement today.
Yeah.
Like, it was done. Everybody knew it was coming, and it was.
I had that.
Calendar.
They sent that to me yesterday, kind enough so I could have that written, so I wouldn't at 2:00 all of a sudden be sitting at a press conference wanting to ask him questions while also having to run back and try and do. So that's not an uncommon thing. Some teams, manufacturers, even series will do that. But this was not that case. So just a quick addition to this. Felix Rosenquist being signed. So that preceded the Palou announcement by a couple of weeks, whatever it was. That was distributed early by McLaren. the embargoed story was sent early. I had a little chat with him afterwards and said, I do appreciate this just as an FYI. It landed at 2 a.m. in California. So, while others on the East Coast or wherever could make great use of it, just saying for future ones, just know there's at least one of us out here. So, but all that aside, the big news of Felix being retained, that was absolutely something done in advance so folks could have this, prepare it, and it went out at a reasonable hour. When you have something that pops up, if you know nothing about what's going on and you see an email with a major topic like this at 12:18 a.m. in the place where it's being sent, it tells you that there's something weird. Even if nothing turns out to be weird, that should pique everyone's curiosity first. Timing-wise, I had not seen Alex's tweets. I didn't see Alex's tweets until after the McLaren release went out. You go and look at the timing of the McLaren release, and you back time when Alex's tweets went out, it was like, 5 minutes before?
Yeah, I'm going to say they're right before.
I'm just saying, if anyone at home has watched CSI, whatever, and knows about trying cold case files, and you're trying to cover your tracks and not make it look, and I'm not saying it is, because I don't know it for a fact, but if you're doing your best to not make this look like a coordinated effort, you certainly don't have the person in question tweeting highly out of character things. We know Alex, happiest, sweetest guy, making chicken noodle soup if you're sick and helping old ladies across the street, Alex Palou. We don't see grumpy tweets, and he wasn't cursing, but it was MF kind of vibe to it, and you go, whoa, this is way out of character. And then 5-ish minutes later, boom, you go, okay. Were those tweets written by him? Legitimate question to ask.
They looked rushed because it literally said like 1 of 2, and then it said 2 of 3, 3 of 3. It just the whole thing just looked very odd.
So the timing of
and Alex's tweets normally have a lot more emoticons in them.
Yes.
Very true.
Lots of emojis.
Yes, the emoji freeness part.
Yes.
That was a big
tip
foul.
you off.
So the Ganassi one timing as well. I got to admit, it did. I think it did land at a kind of like a weird-ish, not on the hour, not exactly on the half hour. So I don't know if there's anything there as well. It might not just be a case of there being some oddities on one side, but both. But as I understand, Alex not only voluntarily entered into this contract extension with Ganassi, it's a team option. So that's them saying, hi, we have taken this up. You obviously, we need to make this formal, but you have no legal recourse to say, no, it's our option. Callum Ilott, same thing, right? Rumors that he signed his McLaren deal a long time ago. So it's not, again, if that is accurate, it's not like Ganassi put out their press release extension, stay in a year, blah, blah, blah. McLaren somehow got up in a time machine to go from wherever he was in America over to the UK, sign it, and come back. There's just a lot of weird things here that don't line up in terms of...
That water's yours to use if you want to.
Thank you. In terms of coordination. And so if this was something that, if we compared it to all and other things like it in the past, in terms of major announcement of a major driver signing away from another team, you would not be sending that out at 12:18 a.m. or whatever it was in the UK and having this weird 5 minutes before poop session on the current team from the driver. Messy. So the last thing I'll just add to that or throw back is messiness and lack of coordination a sign of confusion and what's going on? And boy, this is all just being pulled out of people's backsides? Or was there a little bit of intentional craziness to this? Because this thing so far, nothing about it lacks craziness. So is there intent behind it? Is this meant to be totally off-putting, totally jarring, not following any script? I don't know. because we've never really seen anything like this. So how can you say, well, based on what I've seen before, this is normal, abnormal?
Right.
This is a unicorn.
What it has done is it has become, I think the Indy Star wrote 3 stories about it today, right? So for the local Indianapolis media, the opinion writer, Greg Doyle, he doesn't write about IndyCar, but once a year he'll write in the Indy 500. He wrote about Alex today, and it's front page. It's literally been the top of the fold digital story for multiple media outlets around the city for 3 days. Like it's moved. It has created awareness for the series as they've come back to town. Good, bad, or indifferent, I don't know, but it's in the news.
I was asked by somebody today within the paddock why I and the few others of us who cover IndyCar full time don't write things like that. It was cited as, it was phrased as, why don't you all have balls like Robin Miller did? And that pissed me off to no end. Because if we're speaking honestly, and this is not meant to denigrate my dear former colleague Robin Miller, there's a bit of a false perception that Robin was just this 24-hour-a-day truth cannon. Say anything, be damned. Absolutely not the case. When Robin got out the knives, it's because he knew whomever was receiving them was not in a position to take his livelihood away. Now, he did do that 20-ish years ago, right? A little bit of a different phase in life. But for the vast majority of the rest of his life, that wasn't the case, because this is the old adage about you don't poop where you eat, right? Really easy for someone who does not cover IndyCar to get out the knives and carve up anybody and everybody to no end, because you're at no risk. So I'm not speaking ill of whomever it was who wrote that. I'm just saying I could,
you have to work with these people.
I could, as a sports journalist, write something about my homish town, San Francisco Giants, and eviscerate every single person, every manager, every player, post it. Maybe it'll get tons of reads wherever, and I suffer no risk. Why? I don't cover baseball. But as a sports writer, man, I can flamethrower everything in front of me. It's that thing where you got to walk into the locker room the next day and folks get, oh, hey, that credential you have. Thanks. That's optional. See ya.
Yep.
So I'm not saying this to try and, quote, defend myself or any of the men or women who cover IndyCar that don't write scathing things like that. But there is a very real sense of it's such a small community. There are 10 IndyCar teams full time. There's 10, right? Got 25, 26-ish drivers. All of us always have at least one team owner, at least one driver who's not talking to us or hating us. That's part of the job.
You've made progress, though. I saw that you smoked a peace pipe last weekend at Iowa.
I made heart hands with Romain Grosjean, who didn't know what they were, and I'd never done one myself. But anyways,
it's a very French thing for you to do.
Totally. But just on this point, I've had the comments of, well, why don't you just take Zach Brown to task? He's evil. Bad guy. Look at all the destruction he's causing. I have written and will write and speak into microphones and video cameras and say whatever it is that I feel and think that I can be confident is accurate, because just saying things that doesn't make it accurate, but push up against that line. But there is a line where you go, okay, what do I do here? Do I flamethrower somebody and have them turn off that light? Say, you're done. You're out. I could do that. But at what point in time do I actually stop being able to do my job because I have turned off so many relationships because I felt that just blasting you was the thing to do? Being honest and truthful, yes. Doing a get the knives out routine, you got to be dang sure you aren't committing professional suicide. And we're not talking about government. Hey, we just learned the local government's been putting lead in the water and they're killing people. You're going to go to the mat for that. Talk about playing with race cars here, y'all.
Yeah.
This is sports entertainment. So to what degree do you try and get yourself fired or shunned or blackballed by everybody? Is the Alex Palou situation the one where you effectively kill yourself over. I love Alex. I love Chip Ganassi Racing. I love Aaron McLaren SP. Not enough to treat this like, well, farewell. This is the end of my career. I just wanted, and you go.
I've looked at it,
Bizarre.
I guess, very pragmatically. Just that I've noticed the attention that it's gotten because it's moved beyond just the IndyCar circle.
Yeah.
Kyle walked in the door today coming from the USAC world, and first thing Kyle mentioned was, "Oh my God, the drama you guys have gotten out of here, out of nowhere." It's moved to the next. It's moved out of that circle into a greater realm, and it's going to work out, right? They're all going to be okay. I don't know how it's going to shake out. My suspicion is that 2 to 3 years from now, they're all going to be making fine salaries and probably in a top end open world series, and they're all going to be making a whole lot more money than they are now.
I just always come back to the fact that I am the son of a mechanic. I grew up in as blue collar a life in a household as possible. How much am I truly worried about the one bazillionaire being grumpy at the other bazillionaire?
Yeah.
Oh, man, you made a real grave contractual error, driver of race car number whatever. You're only going to be able to sit on your wealth and maybe not get to play race car as much as you like for the next year or two. It sucks for them. And I'm truly, if any of us were told the thing that you love and are driven by the most you can't do, we'd hate that. Is this person someone that we are going to have to bring food to and shelter? Are they going to be living in a park? That would be concerning. We'd right. None of these things are what are happening. These are millionaires fighting over millionaires who don't like millionaires, who want to be better than the other millionaires. And that's cool. Nothing against millionaires. Again, great people just like non-millionaires like us. But at some point in time, I have to stand back and go, yeah, this is the thing to cover and it's going on. But, hey, we're going to live. We're going to be fine. All these people are going to go on in the world and achieve more good things. We're okay.
Yeah. And honestly, things have blown up again. Apparently, Santino Ferrucci said he's very happy Joseph, spelled wrong, is okay. And he went on to say whatever. And Joseph replied and said he corrected the spelling. And that's turned into a shitstorm on Twitter today. So
at Penske, they care about details.
That's amazing.
Santino and Joseph are arguing over it. Yes, it says it's Joseph with a parentheses. And at Penske, we care about details. Oh, my God. I love the pettiness of these gentlemen. It's spectacular. That's you gotten in a Twitter spat in USAC yet, Kyle?
I'm sure there's been a point in time.
We saw some physical altercations in USAC.
Yes.
So I don't know if Twitter's where they're all at.
Well,
they had some pretty good steam rolling off Friday. Then they had that rain out Saturday, so they didn't really get to carry it over too well.
My favorite physical IndyCar altercation was Elio Castroneves against security guy Charles
Burns. My favorite was 5'8" of Australia, Ryan Briscoe, being quadruple grumpy at 9'12", Justin Wilson. Yeah, standing up in the car, looking like a child, going, uppies, but grumpy. And Justin just looking down like, little man, do you want me to go bonk and make you go to sleep? It was so cute.
I mean, I looked up to Justin Wilson physically. I had to look up to him. So I can imagine like your normal race car jockey-sized human being trying to, but Elio's trying to get in this guy's face, and the dude's security. He's literally like, he's a bouncer, like, and he just stand there. He didn't even act like it was like, oh, yeah, just do your thing, Elio. You're
little
fine.
Brazilian person.
So I want to be respectful of Marshall's time because I know he's got to go back and write about this the Joseph misspelling.
I would like you to know, though, and I know it's not a lot of money, but I've now become a subscriber to your Patreon.
Oh my goodness!
Which I don't have much money, but I do believe that good folks like y'all need to have all of our support. So if you're listening, please do that because good people need support, just like you and Sara are so kind to my wife and I. Seriously. Yeah. If it might be beer, it might be whatever, but like it's real care and love. It's just a really sweet thing. So thank you.
Very much appreciated. The last topic I want to get into real quick before we rail off is I think there was something very special for the future of motorsports and how it gets promoted in Iowa. And you had a first hand glimpse into it, and they went above and beyond, found a local sponsor, and the grocery store that's coming to Indiana, Hy-Vee, seems to have absolutely knocked it out of the park and had a world-class event in Newton, Iowa.
Just crazy time where we have a new dynamic that I've never really seen before to this effect, at least in the modern era. I'm not saying it's never happened, but modern era, we have a scenario where a major corporation in state has said, we like what you're doing. We think there's an opportunity for us to effectively take over your race. We don't want to just be the presenting sponsor that gets forgotten. How could we really make this ours? And that's what Hy-Vee did. And so what you have is a company that says, okay, tacking our name onto something and seeing our logo on stuff, that's a lot of hope. And hope and sponsorship, those are not good friends. There's no guarantee anyone's going to see the name of your company on the side of a car streaking by if you're farting around in 24th place. So they went about things just in a very different way. So beyond all the branding, there was tons of Hy-Vee red everywhere. They turned this into a real cultural happening, as you said, in Newton, Iowa, the huge American metro of Newton, and you're like, if you count the animals, we might get to 400 people, right? So not a place that would naturally anyone would go to for other than motor racing. And so they said, well, hey, there is an entertainment division within Hy-Vee. Why don't we go and recruit some big names? Heartland, country music would be the thing. Look, I would have preferred a soul music festival. I'd be about the only person there, but perfect tone. Look, don't make this hard. Make this something where everybody would go, I want to be there. So big acts. And the way that they did things was having one before the race, one after the race, made this, if you look at the quality of the acts, impossible for a fan to say, well, I'm only going to show up for this part. You kind of needed to show up for now, granted, you could leave if you didn't want to watch the race, but there was just a very different approach to this. And I think it completely worked. So on the Penske Entertainment side, I think they knew we're not going to convert all of the country fans that came here to be IndyCar fans. But man, this gives us a great opportunity. We wouldn't think someone in, whatever region of Iowa, they're absolutely going to be going and watching Kyle, not necessarily this stuff, just talking about cultural leanings. And so it is a little bit of a different thing. But if you package that, I always think of it like the having to give the dog the medicine, right? You don't give the dog the pill. You put it in a hot dog or a little bun, and little Fido's happy, and you go, hey, cool, you got the thing you needed, but it was presented in a way where it was palatable.
And now Penske Entertainment has got their contact information, and they can market to those folks to come back to that or any other event on the calendar for the rest of the year.
And I just referred to tens of thousands of Americans as dogs, so I apologize for that. But just the concept of, hey, this IndyCar thing, it's a little abstract, but maybe if we wrap it with really amazing musical acts that you'd want to see, we're going to get you here, you're going to see it, you're going to like the experience, but maybe also go away saying, you know what, instead of going back to our cars between concerts, maybe we will go out to the grandstand. So I think that was a huge success. But the major thing, which I and I'm sure others wrote about, was this has to be seen and taken as a new blueprint. Because if you think about Texas Motor Speedway, tends to be good racing on average over the years. I realize we've had some clunkers recently, but complete failure in terms of crowd, complete failure in terms of major sponsors and activation for the last many years. Ghost town. I always get folks tell me, well, it's hard to tell. I mean, the grandstands might not look full, but there's actually a lot of people. No, I was there for the very first IndyCar race in 1997 here. I have seen what packed grandstands look like. This looks like folks who just didn't know where they were going and I guess I'll go sit in a stand somewhere. Sad. But this is a perfect blueprint for how many sponsors and advertisers and partners within not just Penske Entertainment, but Penske Corporation. Within the paddock and some of those sponsors How many of them are based in Dallas, in Texas, DFW? Who knows? Are there any in-state corporations? And even if it isn't exactly
Shell, Houston, Texas, right? I mean, that
they used to sponsor the Houston Grand Prix, right? But just thinking, like, I think that's where the big aha moment hopefully has come from out of this race, seeing how successful it was. In-state, $12 billion a year sponsor, even though Hy-Vee isn't a big name everywhere else, that's a big number. They're serious. They went all in, branded everything, brought in all their employees and volunteers and just owned it. And it sang beautifully with all the music acts as well. I would hope IndyCar comes out of this saying, Texas, garbage. Other than the racing, it's a total failure. Even if we get a sanction fee, that does nothing for us. We don't grow. We don't get better. We don't get new fans. Mm-hmm. Who's in the state of Texas that might do a Hy-Vee or somewhere close that has big commerce there?
H-E-B.
Portland, right? Yep. Love Portland. Our first year back there, really good crowd. Declined the second year, and I think I forget the exact number year we're on, but last year is depressing, right? I mean, half full compared to what it was just a few years before. What businesses are in the greater Pacific Northwest? My home track at Laguna Seca rivals Texas for the saddest stop on the calendar. There's nobody there. And I've been there, been in the paddock, working on teams during the kart days, the heydays, where standing room only. If you wanted to get to the track for morning practice, you had to leave about an hour earlier than normal because it's a 2-lane road. And the backup to get in, again, like nothing you've ever seen before. Now, I mean, you might be able to participate in the race if you just kind of pull onto the track when you get there because there's no one to stop you.
And they've had their own like political issues as well too, haven't they? Like
and I'm not happy about, my home race, of course, I want that to blow up, but just the mindset, Jeremiah, of, okay, hey, I hear there's this place called Silicon Valley. It's like about 70 minutes north. I wonder if there are big companies there that might want to own this. There just has to be a different thought process than taking the $1.5 million a year that Monterey County has committed to giving IndyCar to come and race. IndyCar gets $1.5 million. Great. They use that, put that into the leader circle pool and some other things. Great. So you get money, but you look like a total failure. Mm-hmm. You look totally insignificant. You take all this time and money and talent, spend all this, everything to be the best you can. You show up and no one showed up for your birthday party. And you feel like the kid that nobody likes. That is what
it's like. Your champion. And that's the conversation we just had about Eldora, right? Where you guys would crown it. Your Silver Crown champion would be 2 a.m. and there's 50 people in the stands. Exactly.
It kind of started with St. Louis and Bommarito. And Bommarito is obviously not like a Hy-Vee thing, but that was a group. Like I remember being shocked. I stayed downtown for that race, first or second year they did it. And I'd never heard of Bommarito automotive dealerships. And you go down there and his name is on the side of everything down there. Like
every car,
every news network, like you go down where the news stations are and all their street beat cars, everyone. And like, okay, this is a good thing. And then Hy-Vee just took it because they had of what they are and just raised the bar even more. Like the grocery stores were insane. It was so fun to watch Hinch go in there. Like, we're going to charge us all to lead Diffie's account. It was great. And they said you could like online order groceries and they'll like deliver it to those things if you're a camper and you could grab your groceries there. I'm like, this is incredible. And so, yeah, it'd be great to see that if you can get companies that take pride in stuff like that and say, this isn't just how much money we're going to get back. This is just us showing what we can do.
I still think that you need corporate support, but the other strategy that I wish that the series would adopt is to try to replicate the experience that we had at Mid-Ohio as fans and say, hey, look, you take experienced fans and you give them 8 tickets for a weekend and say, this is an all-in pass. And you give it to your super fans and say, bring people to this race. And that's essentially what we did at Mid-Ohio. Hunter, who was on our show last week. That's exactly right. And I've had this conversation with Joey.
And he has a podcast about IndyCar.
Thanks for introducing me to Joey, by the way.
Absolutely. I got my Joey t-shirt on tonight.
Joey's gold. He's a good dude.
I think you're in such an era too where like the racing just isn't enough anymore. Like there's got to be an event type feel. It's got to be, to draw more than just, okay, let's go watch qualifying the race. There's got to be other stuff going along with it. Just because everything else that's out in the world to grab people's attentions, there's got to be more than just the racing going on.
It's the but, right? if I were to ask my wife if she wanted to go to a motor race with me, she'd say, okay, but what else is there? Because she doesn't, other than Lewis Hamilton and Alex Palou, although that's looking a little shaky possibly, but other than Lewis Hamilton in Formula One and Alex here, she doesn't really care or follow anything. She belongs to a kind of forum or chat group or whatever it is of black women who follow Formula One. And so that's like the majority of her interaction with racing. But the idea of going to an IndyCar or IMSA race all day, all weekend long, blaring noise and whatever, that's just not her thing. So it's the but. Okay, but what else is there? That's where if you're able to say, this music, this is amazing food, just something where you go, cool. Yeah. Does my boyfriend, girlfriend, whomever friend, spouse of whatever form, is there something that would allow me to do more than just go by myself? And that's in anything. Hey, you want to go to this thing? You go, what is it? You want me to dress up like medieval whatever at a Renaissance fair? I don't know about that. But is Alice in Chains playing? I might put on the loincloth. I don't know. But, give me something else. It's that second or third thing where you go,
and build some value in it, right?
Yeah. And that's what gets, and I think that's what gets new people in the door too.
I mean, I'll be honest, from a fan, like from Mid-Ohio's perspective, from somebody who goes to that race, it would not be awful during some of those weekends. Like, we just need to get as much on-track activity as possible. No, you know what? You can give people a break to breathe. Because, like, I love Mid-Ohio, but Mid-Ohio literally runs, they have something on track from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And one day it was 7 and with 15-minute breaks. And there's a certain point where you're like, I wouldn't mind a break to go do something else. Give me something else to do. Go have a concert or something like that. But like, it is kind of interesting at 6 o'clock when you're at a road course like that and everything stops and you're like, oh, my brain's like getting to like whoosh, gets a break. And so you have a concert or something like that. It's entertainment, but it's a bit of a break from just the pounding of just something constantly going.
The third USF 2000 race of the weekend.
Yeah, it just sounds like weed eaters. They wake you up at 7:30 or whatever. But yeah, so it'd be fascinating to see how that goes though, and other people step up.
All right, we need to work on wrapping up here. This is the portion of the show where we do final thoughts. Mm-hmm. Kyle, is there anything we left out? Anything you want to promote? Anything you need?
No.
Chasing race car sponsorships. When we have politicians on the show, I tell them they have to ask for money. So race car drivers, I feel like we ought to say, hey,
we will take
if we want to put a sticker on my car.
Any donation, any monetization will work. So, but I know a lot of racing going on this weekend. Get out and enjoy the stuff at the Speedway. Like I said, Indianapolis Pro Week's going on. I think they're at Putnamville tonight, Bloomington, and Tri-State next couple nights, and then we're at Anderson on Saturday, the 500 Sprint Car Tour. So great weekend racing in Indiana. Like I said, just thanks to my wife and family for everything they do for me, and just go enjoy it.
In the Magna Tool,
Magna Machine Tool,
Chevrolet.
Yeah, it's a Chevy.
They don't sponsor it.
No, I know.
Hoosier Tires.
I mean, they could. No, Hoosier doesn't give me any money either.
Cooper Tires.
No, it's all Hoosier.
They're all Hoosier.
They're
all right. Sarah, what you got for me?
Are you going to ask your question from this week in IndyCar?
Oh, that's right. Okay. I did forget.
Well, that's okay. My only final thought is we talked about how the lives are not going to be affected too much by a driver changing teams, but I am deeply affected. But Audrey will be positively affected because I have to get a new cup. So the Dainty Daisy for all of your cup needs. Feel free to reach out to Audrey Davis.
Did you show Marshall your custom Alex Palou cup?
This lovely
that is awesome.
number 10 cup.
But it could be awesome next year.
It could be awesome next year.
It could be awesome for some. We don't know who's in that car next year.
Ed Jones is trying to make a comeback, and that's not a joke.
This is a real.
That's a real thing. Could Ed Jones get back in? He was
then I'd have to drink margaritas out of it every time then.
He was a Bridge Gap driver before in the 10 car for 1 year. Maybe.
I'm going to say this. Do you really want to be the driver that kind of came in and did nothing for a year, and then the driver comes in a year or two after you and he wins a championship, and you're going to come in and you do the same thing? That just really doesn't speak well to you.
Hi, I'm back. Hi.
But you're driving
still
an
have my seat.
IndyCar.
It's like he's turning into IndyCar's rebound girlfriend. It's just like, are you the next one? Well, for tonight, whatever.
You misspelled my name. It's Ed. It's not Alex. You're so silly, guys. I shouldn't say that. Ed's been training like boxing and MMA. He's going to beat the crap out of me. He kind of comes up to my belly button, but I'm in trouble.
But that's all I had for final thoughts.
That's hilarious.
Marshall, anything we need to promote? Anything we forgot and left out?
I'm not a big promotion guy. Like, I appreciate you. I appreciate Sara, obviously. Fine esteem Mr. Burcham on the right here. Just you guys bring so much love. Like, seriously, with all the things that I do in life, whatever those things are, I do them and enjoy them, but there's no expectation for anything to come back. It's all outward. Whatever story like it's just going out. There's truly no expectation of anything coming back. And y'all and so many others are just so incredibly sweet. And I'll probably be like super old and gray and still blown away because I don't think of anything that I do as something that has any return to it. And so it's just truly, it's like mind blowing how beautiful just the love and support and everything that comes back. So thank you.
Oh, we've enjoyed it very much. Zachary, go have some fun this weekend.
Yeah. I happened into a credential for the weekend, so I've got a poor man's version of a hard card. So I'm going to enjoy that this weekend. I've never been on pit lane I've never had a pit pass actually, except for like.
You want to hold a camera for Marshall?
Bronze pass. Yeah. I think Marshall got a picture of me when I was a poor man because I was wearing my Marshall Pruett t-shirt at the track this May.
Yes.
I've got several Marshall Pruett and I've got an incredible collection of Toronto Motorsport stickers that I haven't stuck to anything yet because I'm waiting to figure out how I'm going to work that. But
put all them on you, arms, legs.
Yeah.
Right. You talked about the stig. Our buddy Matt doing the stig.
Yeah.
You could be sticker guy.
I'm afraid that they'll go away. And like, I've got a big piece of plexiglass. I've also got a rear wing end plate from Ed Carpenter Racing. I've kind of been eyeballing. Like, I wonder if I've got too many for that.
Make yourself into a race car.
Just
Walk around.
plop them on there, but don't peel the backing off of it. Just plop them on there and see if it works first, and then decide.
I got a big piece of plexiglass, but other than that, no, I've got nothing. I'm going to be at the track this weekend, having a good time. The weather looks like it's going to be amazing because it's been awful for the last 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. It's been 72 degrees. I think I ran like Saturday at like 7. It was a little late, Bill. I think at 8:30 it was 80 degrees, and it's supposed to be down in. Like, I think the high is going to be like around 80 and it's going to be in the low 60s this weekend at night. So, wow. Yeah, I can't wait.
All right. So you've done Iowa and you've done Indiana back-to-back weekends, Marshall.
Yes.
Those are the two places in this world that have pork tenderloins. Did you try one in either place?
Have not, but I still have 2 days ahead of me. I fly home 7 p.m. Saturday night. So I will commit to adding a pork tenderloin to my life. Honestly, the last one that I had were ones that Miller bought because that's what he would always do.
For the mug and bun?
No, just out vendor row, whatever, like at the Speedway. He would bring them in occasionally, but yeah, just the comical ratio of tenderloin to bun. How is that just not the best? Mm-hmm. We will figure out Stonehenge before we understand that ratio, and that's why I love it.
It's the official saying. We have one at Bill's Diner. Well, no, it's not Bill's Diner anymore now. Now it's called Weenie World.
Weenie World, yeah.
And it is
it's a hot dog wearing a bun as a vest. It counts like Mr. Hanky for Christmas.
Oh, jeez.
It looks like a football on a bun.
I saw the Steve, what's his name, hotel with
Steve Alford All-American Inn.
Yeah, with the big shoe.
That shoe changes color wherever he's coaching. That matches it. So when he was at UCLA, it was UCLA Bruins colors.
It was really clean too. It didn't look all like wore out, tore up, and whatnot. So someone's been doing shoe maintenance. Okay,
yeah, it's only a couple years in. They may have to go out there and polish it every night. I don't know how that works.
Maybe.
Well,
final thing for me, real quick, before I forget. I mentioned the John Phillips and Morgan Phillips at the beginning. They are selling T-shirts as well. I'm going to share a link on my personal Facebook page so you guys can go there. I think you've got till August 2nd to get in on the T-shirts, and then they'll be printed and heading your way. So, with that, we thank everybody so much for joining us. I'm going to go down to Nashville, Tennessee with Chase Payton and Dakota Davis for the weekend. You all have a great time, and we will be back with you on Thursday.
Amen.
All right.